Hello, everyone. It's time to eat, drink, and be merry with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show with the International Food, Wine, and Travel Writers Association. Check them out. Go to IFWTWA.org. So every second Tuesday and every second Friday, we have shows with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. But over the last few weeks, we've been doing a little extra because it is time to really plan for where are you going in the fall? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Today, we're really going to focus on the food, wine, and travel aspect in regards to California and Arizona. So we've got two special guests joining us. We've got Mary Farah joining us, and we also have Cori Solomon, both of them travel writers with IFWTWA. That's the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. So I'm going to bring Mary on first. Mary, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, it's so good to be back. I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing good. We're doing good. So today you're going to talk about foodie destinations in Flagstaff, Arizona. And I want to give everyone your website name or your blog, alongcomesmaryblog.com. So that wasn't that far of a drive for you, but enough for it to be kind of a road trip, right? To go from, LA to Flagstaff.
It was. I was really concerned because I just am still with how everything is and just worried about health safety. I thought a lot about it. It would have probably been under 2 hours to fly in to the area, but I decided, especially with my little crazy Mabel at home, and it worked out, just to give myself a solo road trip. And that really ended up being great. It was about 8 hours, which for me is not bad, especially along the way and being along Route 66, which I think is such a great highlight and reason in itself enough to want to go towards Flagstaff and that route, just because there's so many cool, funky things that remind you of the era when it started and all the history. So it worked out great to drive out there.
That's awesome. And Nancy and I have done that, but you are like in LA. So Route 66 really does go from Santa Monica Pier, really. Like you could go from the pier, right? All the way across the country, which is awesome, through Barstow and all the diners. And I think what's so cool is Route 66 is making a huge comeback in the motels, the diners, and the attractions. So it's kind of cool that you could actually experience that as you travel across, especially between LA and Arizona and beyond. You can really do it.
Definitely. Yeah. And that was something you mentioned, the motels. It was really cool where I was able to stay while I was out there at Motel Dubois. That's one of the first motor lodges from that great era when we were first having cars and doing road trips. So yeah, there's just so many cool little things to see along that.
I like seeing the car from the room you're staying in.
Oh yeah, exactly. How you can just open your door and it's right there instead of having a parking structure or worry about where your car's at. Yeah, that's always a huge plus.
Well, I want to bring Cori Solomon on, and everyone, her website is writtenpalette.com. And she's all about hanging your wine glass in San Luis Obispo and Arroyo Grande. Now, or Arroyo Grande. Oh, we have to be like corrected here. I should say me. But Cori is in LA as well. And so this sounds like a really cool road trip as well for fall. We're talking wine and, there's the coast, San Luis Obispo. It's beautiful out there. So welcome back, Cori. How are you doing?
I'm doing great and always enjoy being on your show.
Hey, it is good to have you back. And is it Arroyo Grande or Grande?
It's Arroyo Grande.
Yeah.
See, you can tell that Nancy and I are hanging out in the Northeast. We forgot our grandes.
No, it's Spanish.
Yeah. You forget that. But it's not far to go to San Luis Obispo from LA and Arroyo Grande, right? That's pretty close.
It's about a 3.5 hour drive.
Perfect for a weekend getaway then,
Yep.
I would say perfect little
used to
trip
do
out.
it all the time many years you know, quite a bit when my dad used to have a ranch in Arroyo Grande, so we do it a
Oh,
lot.
cool. Nice.
And then
Mm.
from the Bay Area, it's not that far either to
I
go.
think it's about, I think it's maybe an extra hour from the Bay Area. I may
Or
be
two.
wrong.
Yeah.
Depends on
maybe
where you
two.
are in the Bay Area, really,
Yeah.
in traffic, but it's accessible, basically. If you're in Vegas too, it's not that far, but it's interesting. Both of you have your articles. You've got a write up and showing some photos of your adventures. Mary in Flagstaff, Cori in San Luis Obispo and Arroyo Grande, and they're up on blendradioandtv.com. You'll see it all in our upcoming issue of Eat, Drink, Be Merry magazine. But Cori, what's interesting about this is that it seems that San Luis Obispo and Arroyo Grande have got together and created a new AVA, right? A new wine district, basically.
Yep, it's called this. It can either be called the San Luis Obispo Coast AVA, or they call it Slow Coast AVA.
Are you talking about my brain? It's working slowly lately. I don't know what's going on, but I'm kidding. But so Slow Coast. So is Arroyo, like, where is Arroyo Grande versus compared to San Luis Obispo? Is it like
It's just south. It's just south of Arroyo Grande. I'm sorry, San Luis Obispo. There are 5. It's one of the 5 cities. Let's see if I can get them all. Pismo, Grover Beach, Arroyo Grande, Oceano, and I am like blanking on the 5th one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but there's over 30 wineries in this whole region.
Yes, there's about 32 wineries. Some of them, they're the original AVAs there, which was Edna Valley and Arroyo Grande AVA, are now sub AVAs of the Slow Coast.
Wow. So this is pretty cool that it's expanded to have its own zone. I love this. So California wine is like booming, basically. So that's a good thing. What kind of wines can we expect from both regions, Arroyo Grande and San Luis Obispo?
Well, I would say that the 2 main varietals are Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, but then there are some other, you can do a cool climate Syrah, they do Grenache, Gruner Veltlinger is becoming more popular now. One of the most interesting wineries, and he brought this variety from Italy, and it's is Lagrange. Lagrange, and that is from northern Italy. And the gentleman was originally from there, and he brought that cuttings over. In fact, he gave some to, I think it was UC Davis, but he kept some. And as he moved from the valley, he lived in, I think, Woodland Hills, then I can't remember, Thousand Oaks, and then Westlake. He moved those cuttings until he eventually ended up in the San Luis Obispo area, and it's now planted in his vineyard.
Cool.
Wow, that's so cool.
It needed the coastal breeze.
Well, it's very different than in where it came from in the Alps, and so that they found, at first they used to blend it. This is Pedra Creek vineyards, and they originally had trouble, and they blended it, and then they finally perfected when to pick and when to harvest that grape, so it could mimic a little closer to how it grows in Italy.
See, you need a little bit of blend,
You said blend. Yeah, she did say
several
that.
times.
Now they make the varietal not as a blend, but they make a rosé, a still wine. They make a petnet from it, and it's actually really good.
Well, see, I like this. I want to go over to
Mhm.
Mary because Mary's not that far away from you. And see, Mary, have you been there to San Luis Obispo to any of these wineries, or
Yeah, not the one, not every winery Cori's mentioned, but I actually lived for a little while in the Santa Ynez Valley, so I know SLO County and that whole area like the back of my hand. The funny thing is, Cori, I'm trying to think of that fifth city. Is it Napomo?
The first city,
Oh,
Napomo, is south of Arroyo Grande.
Right. I was trying to think of the five cities. You couldn't think of one. Which one? Which one
I
are we
think you're
missing?
right. I think it's Napomo.
I think it's Napomo, yes, but I love that whole area. And a little further up from SLO, as Cori's been, she knows as well, Paso Robles is great. So that's just a phenomenal part of California to go up the coast there.
Mhm.
this is
It's
interesting
a
going from
beautiful,
like the
beautiful
wine region
coastline.
to Arizona, Flagstaff. I want to go to Mary because, like, when you go to Flagstaff, was it kind of the different, like, Flagstaff is not what I think people expect Arizona to be. I think people expect the saguaro cactus in the desert,
Mhm.
like throughout the entire state.
Yep.
When they get there, there's pine trees and mountains, and obviously, and listen, the area has gone through a lot of change this year with wildfires, and that's why I'm really glad Mary is back on the show to talk about this because there are things to still do. They have
Oh,
gone through
oh yeah.
fires, and I want to make sure people know to still go to Flagstaff. They're open arms, they're welcoming you back, and um, the fires are not in the downtown area and the regions where you're talking about, right, Mary?
Correct. No, but I love that you mentioned how everyone thinks Arizona is going to be cactus and desert because I even was like that. And I
Mhm.
knew a little bit it was not going to be like that, just doing my research, having friends in the area. But it still was really funny the closer I got to Flagstaff. You feel like you're in a Santa's village. It was
Mhm.
they just had a bad snowstorm the week before my visit. So there was
Wow.
still snow on the ground. There were the pine cones. You had to make sure you had your coats. Like I feel like everyone thinks if you're in Arizona, it's all tank tops, but I was freezing my first night there. So it's a really fun, different. And then you're only about less than an hour from Sedona, which was somewhere I adore. So of course I made sure to go over there for breakfast for a little bit, because the whole area is just so vastly different than the desert end of the state.
Yeah, I think that's something. Flagstaff is like a hub. You could stay in Flagstaff, do the Grand Canyon, do all these parks, go to
Yep.
Sedona. There's so much. Like you could stay in Flagstaff for like 10 days and still not
Oh,
see it all.
definitely. Oh, yeah. Because so many people, especially as my articles start to come out, people are asking me things about the area. Many didn't even realize how close you are to the Grand Canyon. It's such a great place to consider staying if you're going to be going out there.
Yeah, because the Grand Canyon, the south end, gets really busy. And
Yep.
if you stay in Flagstaff, you can monitor that, right? You can monitor when to go to the
Oh,
canyon
yeah.
and go after the summer. Like we're talking about fall.
Mhm.
Fall is a great time. And let me tell you, Flagstaff in the fall, you've got the
It's beautiful.
sunflowers that are wild, kind of turning themselves out, but they're still there, but they're giving way to aspen trees and everything being in like that fall color. If you want to see fall color in Arizona, this is the area to go to, right? I don't know, you probably didn't see that, Mary, but it is like
That's good
beautiful.
to hear because I cannot wait to go back. And that's something thinking about it. Of course, that makes sense. I can only imagine just the whole fall, the sunsets and everything out there that time of year.
Yeah, it's beautiful and it's cooler too, everybody. It's
Yes. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I
this
noticed
isn't
that even being the little bit of distance from Flagstaff up to Sedona. I mean, it's the higher you get there. I think a lot of people forget that it's a great place to escape when the weather's so bad, more on the south end of Arizona.
Right, exactly. And so you've got all this natural beauty, but you had some amazing foodie visits. But I want to turn back to Cori. Cori, tell us a little bit about San Luis Obispo. What would you say would be the setting for fall for people? Because I always think that when you go to the coast in the fall, I know people think about beach summer, but the coast in the fall has this magical,
It's
I don't
awesome.
know, it just feels magical out there in that region. What do you think?
Well, I always love going to those areas in the fall because one, you've got the turning of the leaves, especially in the vineyards. You have the going from green to the golden reds, and you've also got, well, harvest comes earlier now, so usually by then harvest, at least late fall, harvest is completed. But there's a lot of activities, and one of the things I like about San Luis Obispo are some of the activities, including the Thursday farmers market. So you're going to get all the fall colors and gourds and all pumpkins and all the neat things that come about in the fall season to see at their farmers market. And it's one of the best farmers markets I've ever been to.
Wow,
Cool.
that's cool. That's cool. So the farmers market, and that's something,
I love
I
farmers
think as travel
markets.
writers and travelers should go to more of, because then we get to actually understand. We go, oh, we want the farm to table meal, right? But why don't you go to the farmer's market and meet the farmer too, and maybe take some produce home,
Yeah.
especially if you're close from LA or something. I think
Oh, I
that's
always do that.
important.
If I can, I do. I try to get something
Hmm.
to bring it back.
Cool.
Yeah. And meet the farmers, the people working there, get to understand like what are they growing, when and how. It's so cool to have that connection to our food and wine. So Cori, tell us like, okay, let's look at San Luis Obispo. So is there a specific winery that you want to say you need to go and experience in the fall?
Oh, a winery?
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
I know that's really hard. That's bead.
no, but you can, in downtown San Luis Obispo, there are a lot of, wine bars now, but, you know, there are so many wineries in the area. I think one of the ones, most of them are just south of, well, not all of them, but a lot of them are just south. I recommend, depending what you like, but there's Tally. He's one of the old timers, and they were one of he, I would almost say like they're grandfathers of the area, of the one, because they originally were in agriculture and then moved to growing grapes. I mean, they still do they still farm. They're known for cilantro, and I can't remember some of the other vegetables they grow. But the other one I recommend is Clybourne and Churchill. If you like Rieslings and Gewürztraminers, they're fabulous. Camisole is another good one. There's so many, and it's just to sit outside in the fall weather, it's fabulous.
That's cool. To me,
Mhm.
it's you're right about being outside where it's not that hot, you know, fall out in the vineyard area, having the wine where it came from is, or even the tasting rooms. The tasting rooms are fun because I always think that when you get to a town, a lot of times we'll travel somewhere and we'll get there at the end of the day, go to a tasting room, whether it's wine or beer or whatever, or a restaurant that serves local things, and start your tasting adventure there, because most of the time the staff will tell you who does what, you know,
Mhm.
and I think the tasting rooms in a downtown are a good thing. What do you think, Cori? I mean, as you've done so much in wine tourism over the years, and you've been on our show a gazillion times talking about different destinations, but I think the tasting rooms in downtowns really play important role for travelers to understand where they would even go to the next day.
Oh, well, a lot of them, the tasting rooms are for those, for some of the smaller, more boutique wineries. A lot of them share tasting rooms because not all of them have a typical winery setup, or many of them source their grapes. So having that tasting room downtown is important, but it also gives the town a flair, you know what I mean? Just like the food does.
Mhm.
I think food, wine, art all go together in every town. I always love when I'm going to some of these towns to look at the murals, because that kind of represents what the town is about. And, I find, every town has a different kind or style to the types of murals and art. So I think it all comes together, and that's all part of the I'll use the word diversity or of a town, and it makes it more unique, or gives it its own character and flair.
Art and wine has always gone together from day one. I don't know too many artists who don't drink wine. Just have to say, no, even Leonardo da Vinci started with wine, it's a thing. It's
Well,
get out
Cori's
of
an
your,
artist. Do you drink wine while you're painting pet portraits?
yes.
No,
No, because
not drink
no,
before.
you have to get out of your day-to-day mind and go to the creative side, and wine helps.
Well, it can loosen you up. But
Yeah,
I don't
well, that's what I
necessarily
mean. It
drink.
helps you get past your day-to-day. So when you're painting or making a ceramic or whatever art form that you do, you're not thinking about bills or appointments, all that. No, now you're on the safe side of the mind, as I like to call it. The safe side where
Well, it
you're
also loosens you up. So whatever medium you're using,
feel free to do it.
yeah, you can open up. You're not as stiff, not as stiff.
Yeah, you're not stiff because you don't care anymore. You're like, okay,
But Cori,
I'm doing what I want to do.
I know Cori was like, I'm not painting and drinking wine when I'm doing pet commissions. That's not happening. That's a different thing.
Oh, but I may
Right?
have had it at dinner and then come and go draw after dinner. So, it's there, but I don't drink while I'm drawing.
Well, it's like, yeah, because haven't we all done that as writers? We'll be like, oh, we have this great idea. We'll type it up while we're having wine, and then the next day we'll
That's
go,
good.
okay, there's one thing here, but
You
the rest
fix
of it
it.
we're going to scrap it. You know what I mean?
No.
So Mary, I want to go to Mary and Farah here. Mary, tell me, have you had that instance where you're like, oh, I got a good idea of having cocktails or wine and type it out, and then you had to get rid of it?
Yes, yeah, I won't, yes, I think it's very common for us artists or creative minds.
You have to look at it the next day, but will there be a nugget of goodness though? There's always a
Yeah.
nugget, right?
Right. I definitely have had ideas I thought were great, or I'll put it this way: if I'm using like a media trip application form, or I'm applying to go visit a destination and represent and write about them, those are the times I make sure I'm not having any wine. But when it's just something I need to just, maybe if I want to write, or especially now, I'm really discovering, having a daughter now, how much I'm loving to actually do like painting and markers and all that. So that definitely, yeah, it's I think it can go hand in hand, because just like you guys were saying, to loosen you up from that everyday mind. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But not
Get
as
a free with it.
a little free,
Yep.
but not a crux. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
Oh, no, you don't. It's not that you have to have it.
yeah.
It just softens it so you can make the transition from the everyday business mind
Yeah.
to the creative side.
I love this, but I love that you have these destinations that are so accessible from LA, San Diego, Phoenix, right? Vegas.
Oh yeah.
San Francisco. The two of you have got these amazing destinations that I think are forgotten about. Would you think that, Cori, with San Luis Obispo, that it sometimes gets hidden under the radar of LA and Napa when it comes to wine?
I think
Well,
it also,
LA, not so much for wine, but you know what I mean.
well, what it gets hidden is it gets hidden from Paso Robles, because that's
Yeah.
people
Yeah, yeah.
usually go to
Huge.
Paso Robles rather than to San Luis Obispo for wine, even though they're both in San Luis Obispo County.
Mhm.
Oh,
But they don't think of that. And then, you know, after Sideways, the Santa Barbara region, wine region became really big. So that,
Hmm.
you know, it's kind of in between Paso and you know, the Santa Ynez, Santa Rita Hills, all that area. So it sometimes is forgotten about, but it's,
well,
I think that's part of the reason they added that ABA, was to give it more, make it more well known, because it is an area that, I mean, there's great food, there's, you know, nice accommodations. So I think they need to build that up, and this is a way to do that.
I want to go to, I love this because I think we get things stuck in our head. This is the place to go. And as travelers and wine enthusiasts, we have to open our minds a little bit. And I love this conversation, that I love how things just happen. Like the two of you being on the show today, where it just is accessible from certain regions, and Mary going to Flagstaff, which we've done a show with Linda Kissam, by the way, too. Check it out, nationalparktraveling.com, with Linda being on the show. She did some of the national parks, and they experienced wildfires right after we did the recording. So I'm really glad we're doing this, because I want people to know, still go there. You know, these disasters happen, and as climate change keeps happening, so will these disasters continue. And, you know, there's a time to not go, and there's a time to go back and support
And
these
support.
individual businesses. And I think this is what's so great about this show today. Both Cori and Barry are representing places that are about small business and entrepreneurs, whether it's wineries or restaurateurs. So, Barry, it seems like you had a good time in Flagstaff, and I know you're a new mom, but you went out for cocktails. You had a good time.
I
You made
did.
up for lost time.
I did, but did you notice though, at our first stop before dinner, when we were at the Annex Cocktail Lounge, I actually had a mocktail, just because I got into them when I was pregnant, and I was so, just the name of it, everything just was so clever about it. So that was where that's kind of me letting loose. I had a mocktail instead.
See what I know. I've been telling people, like, this mocktail thing is a big deal. And I'm going, I don't get it.
I do.
I mean,
not
I
really,
can really,
but
there's a lot, but yeah, I
no, I get it.
understand.
I do get it.
Yeah,
It's
but
the taste of the drink.
I was really surprised. And especially like you just said, they really become more of a thing. So they're not, because I feel like even 10 years ago, the quality just wasn't always there. And I feel like that might be a good way for me moving forward to really see how good a cocktail lounge or somewhere known for their drinks is. Can they replicate that with a mocktail? And it was amazing at the end.
That's cool.
It
No,
was.
I think it's cool. I think it's cool because so many people are the designated driver, or
Yep.
cannot drink, don't want to drink. I have a lot of friends who don't drink. They just, like, I don't like it. I don't want to. It just isn't my
Right.
thing. And it's like, okay, I can taste this and it's more my style. And then there's people who have left the drinking world, basically, and said, hey, I want something that tastes like it. Brad Pitt has a whole fruit-based liney, like, soda line or whatever, because
And
of it.
And
You
a
know what I mean?
skirt. And a
Yeah.
skirt.
He has a skirt. Is he wearing a
Yeah.
kilt?
He's known for wearing a skirt. They don't say a kilt. He's wearing a skirt for whatever reason.
Okay, well,
You
is
do
that
need to
got
get
to
up
do
on
with,
this stuff. It's important.
okay,
He's
so it's got
wearing, he's wearing a
sodas and a
skirt.
skirt. Okay, that's good. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's to be very, we should need to go to a place, and I think we got into a cultural thing. We actually talked about this with a musician, Kwame Bede, out of Harlem. Kwame Bede Shakedown, by the way. You
Yeah.
got to check their music out. And
Yeah.
they did some gigs in a place that was for people that want to go out and listen to music and have a bar-like setting where they can be connect with people, but it was alcohol free.
Oh, I
And
love that.
and I
Mhm.
think we have to have these places for so many reasons, so many social issues, and for people that just don't like to drink,
Yeah.
But
seriously.
when
So
you
I think
mix a cocktail and leave out the liquor, okay? It's a
it's
little lighter. It tastes just as good. I mean, it really does. So it's just mixing a drink without the
it's an
alcohol.
art. It's an
Yeah.
art.
Mm-hmm.
Mixology is still an art form, whether or not you're
Exactly.
using alcohol. Like here,
Right.
where we are in Connecticut right now, we're pet sitting two amazing dogs on this 60-acre property that is from the 1700s. When we got here, the homeowner said, "Hey, we're going to have dinner, we're going to have cocktails." And this gentleman made cocktails that you would not believe whether or not you had alcohol in them. It was about the layering effect of you
Mm-hmm.
take your first sip, you have this. The second sip, you're going to feel this. The third sip is here's this flavor. It's a layering effect. So, Mary,
Mm-hmm.
with a mocktail, is that the same thing where you could have those layers?
It is definitely for me because I think we've discussed I'm a tequila girl. That's what I
I'm
like.
with you, girl. I'm hell on
Yes.
with you.
That's
Yes,
funny.
when I want a break from wine and or I'm reviewing a spirit, I do love that's usually my go-to, and that's what I was so taken with, that everything that the cover band, that was the name of my mocktail at the Annex Lounge. I
Oh,
love that,
cool.
which I
I
know,
like
right?
that.
That's
That's
really what
cool.
sold me. I know on getting it, but just the
Awesome.
layers with the grapefruit, the agave, you really, that's what I think is so amazing about Annex Lounge right there in downtown Flagstaff. It's just such a gem of a place to either start your evening, or like I mentioned in my story, they also do have a full kitchen, and going even further beyond, if you don't want to drink, they even have a coffee bar. So you can enjoy dinner or your brunch or whatever takes you there. And if any type of alcohol or mocktail isn't your thing, I think that's genius as well, that they also have baristas and are handcrafting espresso drinks as well.
Hey,
Cool.
listen, Mabel in the background is agreeing with you. She said, my mommy was good. She behaved herself.
I
She's
was
there.
wondering, she's here. Oh, yeah, she has her shopping cart, but yeah, she's agreeing with me.
Ah, I want to touch on Altitudes Bar and Grill because I think number one, Flagstaff is up there. By the way, Flagstaff is a 4-season destination: snow
For sure.
skiing,
Yep.
fall colors,
Mhm.
spring, summer. It is awesome.
Beautiful.
But Altitudes Bar and Grill, I think what's so cool about this is you can have a train shot. Like, tell us about this. I
Yes.
want a train shot. I will
They
go there for the train shot.
that is what they're known for. That was another really cool thing going there, just going to places that are world renowned, whether it was our dinner at Bricks or when we were at Altitudes Bar and Grill. People do specifically come to Flagstaff or make an effort to stop there because they want to wait for a train to go by. And if you check out the restaurant's website, you can get a breakdown of all the different types of train shots they do. It's really cool. It can be if a train goes by and it's snowing, or a train goes by opposite direction. They have all these different things, but the basic train shot is a shot of tequila for $2 when the train goes by and you're at altitudes, because you are literally in front of the train tracks where they're at. So they're right there.
I love it. So then,
It's so
okay, so
smart, you know?
right.
That's so smart marketing wise, because instead of, oh gosh, here comes a train making all that noise, you're like, come
They
on,
took it.
train.
Yeah, they really, because that could be such, I just feel like it must be such a nuisance for a lot of people or just
Yeah.
jolt you. But that's such a
Yeah.
great way, right? To make it a
Yeah,
positive.
smart. It's so smart. I love it.
Well, I want to hear more about bricks.
Bricks was incredible. That Bricks opened in 2007 in Flagstaff, right before the 2008 recession, and they were shortly put on Condé Nast's hottest restaurants of the year list. So they went from being like, we're all talking about supporting local and small businesses. They were just a small, cozy restaurant starting out, and then that happened. And talking to Paul and Laura, the owners, they were saying the phones haven't stopped ringing since. That's
Wow,
really,
how cool.
and it's so well deserved. It's really a small setting, and they're actually in the middle of remodeling and adding on. And the building that they're going to be in, or rather add on to, when you can have banquets, events, more space for restaurant dining. The building once was the garage that housed the very first automobile in Flagstaff.
Oh, wow.
That is awesome.
That's
And
amazing.
that's a
that
big
cool?
deal when you think of Route 66 history,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
That is huge.
exactly. Yeah, the building
is huge.
itself was from the 1800s. A wealthy banker owned it, and you can just really, it's a very if these walls could talk type of space.
I want to go to Cori on this too, because Cori, when you think about Route 66 going across the country, right? But Highway 1 and 101 going along the coast is one of the most iconic routes too. And so that can lead you to San Luis Obispo and to Arroyo Grande, whether you're going detouring or not, right? So Cori, isn't that another part of this, is going on a historic route to get out there?
Well, typically you take 101
Yeah.
to get up there. And it's what I like about it is it's scenic. You go through a lot of areas that both north and south of San Luis Obispo that have some great area, a lot of different things to see. From San Luis Obispo, you can get across to the one, and you've got what Hearst Castle, Cambria, which is within about 30 minutes of San Luis Obispo. So there's a lot, yes, there's a lot of things to see on Highway 1. And in fact, I think they have, as part of this whole area, they have Discover Highway 1 through the area. And you know, so they have different activities, which include wine. One of the things I did on my last trip there was I went to see the monarch butterflies. And that's in Pismo. So that's worthwhile to go to. I mean, they're only there from I think it's October or November through February or March. I think it's February. And so, you know, that's what I call one of those once in a lifetime things to do. You know, so there's a lot of, nature to see on, along the way on either Highway 1 or 101.
Especially now, because the monarch butterfly is about to be named an endangered species, which freaks me out, you know?
I saw that. I didn't
have
have
a
chance to read it,
it's like, really? But so it's worthwhile to go and see while you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. And it is a specific time of year. But I mean, the coast is just so beautiful to drive up there and then have wine. Any wineries you want to give a shout out to for people going to Arroyo Grande or San Luis Obispo that they should check out?
Well, in Arroyo Grande, there's a couple tasting rooms, and one that I visited was timbre, like in the music, spelled TBRE.
Yeah.
And that was very good. And it's got also an outdoor setting. you know, they're most of the wine, you know, as I said, now they're covering various AVAs. So again, in that really close, there's Tally, which I mentioned before. So it's not that far, you know, the distance between Arroyo Grande and San Luis Obispo is only about 20 to 30 minutes, depending. I mean, you don't get traffic like you get in LA, but you know, you can hit a little bit of traffic. So, you know, you've got all these wineries, and then you've got along the coast. So there's just so many wineries in the area. It's just, it really depends on what you're looking for in terms of, if you like Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, then yes, you want to go to most of them. And another one I'm thinking of, which is closer to the coast, is Senor, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. It's Senor Levy. I think I'm probably saying it wrong, and I'm butchering it, but he does Mike, the owner and winemaker, does a really good job with Pinot Noir.
See, what's interesting is because we always think about Oregon with Pinot Noir, right? And then Paso, like you were saying earlier too. And so this is this thing of like, let's break out of our comfort zone and explore the other areas doing it. And I think that's what's really great about your story about San Luis Obispo and Arroyo Grande, is that we go to these new destinations that aren't necessarily new, but it's new for us, maybe, you know, as wine enthusiasts, that we go there and check out the places. I think it's just, everybody goes to Napa. I'm not knocking Napa. I'm just not, but I'm just like, people, there's wine regions all over this country that are making amazing wines. You know, I think we just have to start opening our minds a little bit, and our travels, you know, as you know, we're in a weird world with COVID still lingering, and just go somewhere close. Gas prices, whatever you're worried about. Like if you're in LA, maybe go to San Luis Obispo instead of Napa. You know, I'm not knocking Napa again. I'm just saying.
Well, another thing that
try something new. You know,
some of these newer or lesser known regions, the price point of the wine is less too.
Right.
So you're getting excellent wines, but at a more reasonable price. And you know, what most people, you know, what I've found in my small time writing about wine, which is short period, I should say, is that the majority of people drinking wine, you can figure their price point is between $20 and maybe $80. Well, Napa's prices are, you know, a lot of those wines are over 100. You'll find some of the wineries that have been around a long time up there, some of them are under 100 because they've owned the property forever, so that they don't have the mortgage, or the cost of the land is not as great. So I think finding these other areas is where the price point is a little lower is nice, and you have exceptional wines in the area.
Oh, again, see, so everybody, go have some wine, go have some cocktails or mocktails. There's a lot going on in the West. So everyone from Arroyo Grande, excuse me, in San Luis Obispo all the way to Flagstaff, there's a lot to experience. So enjoy your fall season with some awesome, delicious goodness. So writtenpalette.com is the website for Cori. And along comes berryblog.com is Barry's blog. Both of their stories are up on blendradioandtv.com. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was so fun.
It's fun.
It was. Absolutely. And everybody, IFWTWA.org is the website for the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. Usually we do shows every second and Tuesday and second Friday, but we, you know, kind of extended things this week and the week before because we're also covering what's happening at the conference coming up in St. Petersburg in September. So check that out. If you're a travel writer or blogger, whether or not you're a member of IFWTWA, as we say, IFWTWA, the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association, you can go to the conference and get the networking benefits and the workshops, all of that. And who doesn't want to go to the Sunshine City in Florida? I want to go back. We went there twice a couple years, or a year ago, Nancy, I think it is. I can't keep up, but it's beautiful out there. So go to IFWTWA.org. Again, keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Bye.